Hi, welcome to Storytime with Gigi. Today we're going to be reading another Disney friendship story from a treasury of tales. Our story today is from Lady and the Tramp, Unlikely Friends. Lady, a beautiful cocker spaniel, loved her owners. On the day she came home, she overheard them talking to each other and realized their names must be Jim Dear and Darling. Every morning, Lady woke Jim Dear for work. She brought him his slippers and fetched the newspaper. During the day, she kept Darling company, and they always enjoyed an afternoon walk together. When Lady was 6 months old, she received her first collar and license. After Darling put it on her, Lady happily pranced outside. She was excited to show her best friends Jock, the Scottish Terrier, and Trusty, the Bloodhound. They admired her license. Lady held her head high. She was so proud. On the other side of town, Tramp was a mutt who wasn't what most people would have called respectable. He didn't have owners or a home of his own. He was footloose and collar-free, but was also very clever. He had a good heart and often rescued his friends from the clutches of the dog catcher. He didn't want them to go to the pound. Tramp loved going on chases. One afternoon, he tricked and teased the dog catcher until he'd lost him. Then he looked around and noticed he was in a ritzy part of town. Snob Hill, he muttered. He was glad he didn't live in this kind of neighborhood. It looked boring. Wonder what the leash and collar set does for excitement. Curious, Tramp wandered into a yard and overheard Lady and her friends. "It's something I've done, I guess," Lady was saying sadly. "Jim Dear and Darling are acting so strangely." Jock and Trusty simply smiled. They knew what the problem was. Darling was expecting a baby. Lady was confused. "What's a baby?" she asked. "Just cute little bundle of trouble," Tramp piped up. Lady looked bewildered. She'd never seen this strange dog before. He didn't even have a collar on. Tramp continued. "Remember those nice, juicy cuts of beef? Forget 'em. That warm bed by the fire? How about a leaky doghouse instead?" Jock told Lady not to listen to the dog. Then he turned to Tramp and told him to leave. Okay, Tramp replied. Before he left, he warned Lady, "Remember, when a baby moves in, the dog moves out." Lady was worried, but luckily Tramp's predictions did not come true. When the baby was born, Darling showed her to Lady, who loved the child instantly. Every day Lady watched over the baby. Jim Dear and Darling petted her proudly. When they decided to take a short vacation, they knew the baby would be in good hands. Besides, Darling's Aunt Sarah would be there to help. But Aunt Sarah wouldn't let Lady near the baby. Even worse, she had brought 2 sneaky Siamese cats with her. When Aunt Sarah was out of the room, the cats tried to eat the goldfish. When they ripped the curtains, Lady tried to stop the cats, but her barking angered Aunt Sarah. "Oh, merciful heavens!" Aunt Sarah cried when she came downstairs. The cats made it look like Lady had messed up the room and attacked them. Sneaky cats. Aunt Sarah was furious. She dragged Lady to the pet store to fit her with a muzzle. Lady was upset. She hadn't done anything wrong. As soon as the salesman put the muzzle on her, Lady ran out of the store. Cars screeched by, tin cans got caught on her leash and made a horrendous racket. Then ferocious dogs chased her. Lady was terrified. Suddenly, Tramp appeared. He fought the bullies and rescued Lady. "What are you doing on this side of the tracks?" he asked. Just then he noticed the muzzle. "Oh, poor kid. We've got to get this thing off. Come on," he said. Tramp led Lady through the town to the zoo. There, they found a beaver building a dam. The beaver easily bit through the muzzle strap and freed Lady. Lady felt grateful both to the beaver and to Tramp. Tramp wanted to show Lady how great life could be for a dog who wasn't part of a family. He decided to take her to a special Italian restaurant. Tony, the owner, loved Tramp. "Where you been so long?" Tony asked. "What's this, eh? Hey, Joe, look, he's got a new girlfriend." Lady blushed. "Tonight he getting best in the house," Tony said to Joe, who worked at the restaurant. "Okay, Tony," said Joe, "you're the boss." Tramp and Lady looked at the menu. Then Tramp barked. Tony knew exactly what Tramp wanted, and before long, he returned with a huge platter of spaghetti and meatballs. Then he and Joe serenaded the dogs. Without meaning to, the dogs began to eat the same piece of spaghetti. They didn't realize what had happened until their lips met in a kiss. Then Tramp rolled the last meatball toward Lady. She was touched by his generosity. He was different from what she'd thought. He felt the same way about her. As they stared into each other's eyes, it was clear they had fallen in love. It was a beautiful night. Lady and Tramp walked side by side through empty streets. The sky was lit with stars and the moon was full. They went to a grassy hill in the park and fell asleep. The next morning, Lady was worried. "I should have been home hours ago," she cried. Unlike Tramp, she liked belonging to a family, but Tramp wanted to chase chickens to show Lady how much fun his life was. Unfortunately, a dog catcher appeared and threw Lady into his wagon. When Aunt Sarah picked Lady up from the pound, she was so angry that she chained her to the doghouse. Lady was heartbroken. Now she wouldn't be able to see the baby. That evening, Lady saw a rat climb through the window to the baby's room. She barked wildly, trying to warn Aunt Sarah, but the old woman simply opened the window and yelled at her to hush now, stop that racket. Luckily, Tramp was nearby and heard Lady's cries. "What's wrong?" he asked. "A rat! Upstairs in the baby's room!" Lady cried. Bravely, Tramp raced into the house through the doggy door. Lady finally broke free from her chain and followed him up to the baby's room. Tramp fought the rat and won, although the two knocked over everything in sight. The baby was safe. Lady was so proud of Tramp. But Aunt Sarah did not see the rat. She only saw that the crib had been knocked over. She locked Lady in the cellar and shoved Tramp into a closet. Then she called to have the dog catcher take Tramp away. Jim Deer and Darling arrived home just as the dog catcher was putting Tramp in his wagon. "What's going on here?" asked Jim Deer. "Just picking up a stray, mister," said the dog catcher. "Caught him attacking a baby." Jim Deer and Darling looked at each other worriedly and rushed inside. "Aunt Sarah? Aunt Sarah?" they called. The old woman tried to explain what had happened. Against her wishes, Jim Deer and Darling let Lady out of the cellar. The Cocker Spaniel quickly ran upstairs barking. "Keep her away!" Aunt Sarah cried. "Nonsense," said Jim Deer. "She's trying to tell us something. What is it, old girl?" Lady led them to the baby's room and uncovered the dead rat. Jim Deer realized what had happened. Tramp was a hero. Jim Deer and Lady went to rescue him. Jim Deer and Lady brought Tramp home, and he became part of their family. Soon he had his very own license, but he didn't mind one bit. It meant he could always be with Lady. By Christmas, Lady and Tramp had 4 puppies of their own. With wonderful friends and a loving family, Lady and Tramp lived happily ever after. And that's our story. I hope you liked it. Make sure that you like and subscribe and share with your friends. Bye until next time.